There was no Klingon word for peacemaker.
They say resist is futile. That individual is out of style. It's a simulation, not a but I know less about
Oh, I always forget. Sorry, guys. I blundered that. I don't even know what I'm doing around here. Hello and good evening. Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, Episode 5, Loud as a Whisper, is over. And it has been since 1989. But we're getting just loud as a shout here on Live Long and Podcast here in 2025 for our live stream review on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, audio versions, wherever you get your audio podcasts, as we're going to break down this whole episode, talk all about it, and then rate it. I'm Dave Mader, and I'm joined with a great panel here, once again, to talk about another episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Coming in first, it's the Worldmind himself. It's Chris.
That's me, your anarchist of lust, here to turn your disadvantage into an advantage.
Yes, teach me sign language. Coming in next, it's Ashley Millard. How are you doing tonight, Ashley?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. This is my last podcast before the cruise. Well, actually, no, I'm in a trivia tomorrow with you, actually. So it's my second last. But, you know, Jay's like, I'm sure you have another podcast tonight, don't you? I'm like, tomorrow. And it's coming in with a great outfit once again. It's Heather Narduzzi.
Hello, I'm harmony, balance, and wisdom.
Oh, wow. You're all three of the chorus.
I am. No, she said she was three things. And then there's Worldmind, the anarchist of lust, and then the artist soldier with the beret. He had the worst outfit.
Oh, no, you mean the guy with the hat? Yeah. He was like the logic guy / dreamer, I think he was described as.
So there was the artist, dreamer, passionate lover one, and then there was like the scientific, calculated mindset, and then I think it was the harmony, wisdom, balance, to sort of like cap them all off.
Yes. So this is the 31st episode overall of Next Generation. In this episode, the Enterprise ferries a deaf ambassador who leads difficult peace talks. That's kind of like what it is. That's mostly, really that sums it up. Like, there's not a ton that happens in this episode, I'd say. There's if you want to call it a B plot, there's kind of something with Geordi and his visor, or him kind of considering surgery. And I think that gets resolved in another episode. So it's kind of like this thing. But anyway, any sort of first takes? Are you any of you hostile witnesses coming in here?
This episode was actually better than I remembered it being. I liked it more than I thought I would. It's not in my top episodes ever, but as we've talked about in previous reviews, I think that the reason I would always skip this one is because it is a Troy-centric episode, mostly out of the regular crew, and my opinions of those when I was younger tended to be skippers. But as I'm watching it as I'm older, I'm appreciating it in a new way. So I've really found some things to like about this episode. Now there's some problems. We'll get into those, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mostly agree. Ashley?
I find this episode as boring as I remember it being.
Right.
And I really, really, really dislike, and always have ever since I was a kid, I really dislike the main guest character.
Riva?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I don't know that I would trust him to negotiate anything. He seems like a complete and utter douchebag.
Is it because he's a ginger?
Do you know what's funny? It's not because he's a ginger, but he always reminds me of, it always makes me think of Dr. Zaius.
Yes.
The hair, everything. Like, every time I'm watching it, I'm just like, it's Dr. Zaius.
You can hear the song in your head, Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zaius,
Dr.
Dr.
Zaius,
Zaius.
Dr. Zaius.
Yeah, like he comes across like, okay, like, and Jane had the same kind of sentiments that the guy who plays Riva is off-putting to her as well. She does not like him, and I don't think that the things I like about this episode are because of him specifically either.
Yeah.
But there are things I do like, and I think that there's some good messages in the episode. Worldmind.
Well, I'm at probably one of the dissenting views on this one where I actually like this episode among others. Just because it's one of the few episodes where they touch upon, common disabilities and how they portray them and deal with them in the super far future. And I think they don't do that often enough in Star Trek. Like, if I can think about it, there's been basically two on-screen versions of somebody in a wheelchair. And there might be more, but I can only really think of two, which is like, Pike in the old school versions, and that scientist in Discovery whose name entirely escapes me.
Oh yes, right. Yeah.
What
well,
about there was one in Deep Space Nine as well, and Julie, was she in a wheelchair or did she?
Oh yeah,
She
that episode.
straps herself into one. That's the
Right.
same. That's because she floats like her.
Because she's from a low gravity planet, so
Yeah.
she's she has a disability. So I think that this episode being about disability and how that plays into your life and your work. There's a great, I think, moment between Geordi and Riva on the bridge that I really enjoy, and I think that this idea of the chorus is interesting from just a kind of a science fiction standpoint. Of course, the reason I kind of wanted to get the temperature was, Davin last week in the chat was like, "This episode's so boring. It's a 1, worst thing ever." And I was like, I don't remember it being that bad, but like, let's see.
The middle guys get a dissenting view on this episode. No,
Shocker.
Listen, I think this episode's actually like pretty good in the sense that, well, okay, it's good up until a very particular moment, which we'll get into in the breakdown of the show. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things set up. It's just it doesn't stick the landing, and I think ultimately, because it does not stick the landing is what makes this episode so subpar and ultimately boring to, probably the majority.
Yeah,
and it is a boring episode for the most part. Like, nothing insane happens, but I like.
And I agree with that too.
The concepts.
It's a bit dull, and kind of like, okay, well, that was that, and then we move on. I don't know. So it's I agree that it's not the best episode, but I don't think it's the worst thing ever either. It's sort of very mid for me, and
I went in with expectations at rock bottom, so I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, like I feel so, and I don't, even though I don't think Riva is the best, I don't dislike him either per se. I'm kind of
He is off-putting though. Speaking for our gender, Ashley agrees, Jane agrees, I agree.
Yeah, he's played by Howie Seago.
And it's not the actor. It's not like I'm saying that his look is off-putting or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. He has a terrible personality. For someone who literally does not speak, he has a terrible personality in this. Like the character is just awful to watch.
Turns out he's the descendant of the Environmental Protection Agency's guy from Ghostbusters.
He does look like him, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
It's a different person.
And
It's
Dr.
true,
Zaius.
sir. This man is in fact a dick.
It's true. This man has no dick. Okay. Is this a friend of yours, Heather? You're being called a nerd. So.
Yes, it is, and I am a nerd, and so is he, and we dated in grade 7.
All right. Well, Fair's fair. So,
Lifelong nerd friends ever since. Hi, Kent.
hey there, Kent. Okay, well, hey, let's jump through the breakdown of the episode and talk all about it. The Enterprise is going to pick up an ambassador. We're told in the opening log. I think is it Riker's log that starts us off. I think it is, or maybe it's the captain's log.
No, it was the captain.
Okay, and then so Riker's on the bridge. He tells, I don't know, like Wesley to fly it over, and then we go to Picard in the ready room, looking at this projection of like an orbit of a planet. I think this is one of those things that's been upscaled in the Blu-ray version of Next Gen. High
This
def.
is so cute. Talk about nerds. Picard in here dorking out with his little system model of the Lima Sierra system. Adorable. I love it.
Yeah,
But like, look at the path of that third planet. That is wonky as hell. Come
It
on,
is
what
wonky.
explains that?
it's he's
That's
just
what he's trying to figure out.
yeah. And then Riker shows up, and they look at it together. And
Also, Riker strokes his beard very thoughtfully during this conversation.
yeah, he does. He's like,
Just
oh,
making sure y'all see my new beard for season 2. Everyone see it? Good.
Yeah, I think it's also like I think he's playing along that he knows what the captain's talking about with this orbit stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
not completely sure he does.
I like that
Oh,
reading of it. Yes,
Yeah.
Captain, I see.
Picard's like, indeed, but then they're like,
We
oh,
never get
we're-
an answer as to why it's wacky either, do we?
No.
No, it's just like it looks like it's going a weird oblong shape, sort of an orbit, but I don't know. Like it's kind of a fun thing. I really want to know what this did look like when it originally aired, because later on there's a projection like this with Troy and Picard, and I get the impression that you still see it there, but I don't think that was in the original episode. Anyway, so. Little minor thing. Anyway, so they arrive at the planet. They talk about Riva and like he's like this great peacemaker. They've come very far to pick him up. It's kind of out of the way. And Data's left in command on the bridge as they go down to the turbo, or they're going to beam down to see him, or Picard more specifically. I think this
sitting
might.
like that.
I don't know. I feel like is this the first time we've seen Data in the chair?
I don't know, but it looks like his uniform's too tight and he can't sit forward
Well,
properly.
it's also maybe not the best moment. He's kind of in mid sit down.
Maybe
there,
he may
so-
have just sat down. Yeah.
Or this, or he's just like being super, ergonomic about it. Human beings tend to slouch in chairs and stuff, and he's a robot,
I
so
suppose,
he's
yeah.
not exactly gonna slouch. He's just like, this is how people sit, right?
Yeah, this is natural. So then on the way down to the turbo lift, Riker says, "Oh, I don't like the idea of you leading this away mission." Picard's like, "Away mission? Like I'm going down to say hi. Like I don't want to see like I don't care about this guy, or that And Picard tells him to stop being a cluck cluck cluck.
Oh, cluck, cluck, cluck. You're being a mother hen.
You're being a mother hen, Riker.
I
off
love
my-
that. Sassy Picard. Cute.
Get off my ass.
Yeah.
Um,
Riker's not amused.
No, right. And then they say, well, Riker's kind of against these peace talks. Like he feels like the planet they're going to help has been at war for 15 centuries, and it's not their job to police the galaxy, which I thought was kind of a fun moment here.
Our job is not to police the galaxy, sir.
Isn't that my speech, number one?
Isn't that my speech? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. This is kind of a role reversal. So
Riker's the only commander in all of Star Trek to actually take his role of trying to protect the captain seriously.
true.
Yeah.
Like, there's not one time I remember Chakotay ever telling Janeway she couldn't beam somewhere or do something at all. And of course, Kirk and Spock always went everywhere together. Kira and Cisco is kind of a weird one too. Like they don't have that kind of relationship. But anyway, so they're beaming down. It's gonna be Troy, Picard, and Worf to beam down, and Troy senses something from Worf that he's got strong emotions, even so strong that normally you wouldn't, you'd only have this if he's going on the holodeck or going into battle. So Troy presses him, and he's like, "Well, it's Riva." Apparently, he having negotiated some of the peace treaties between the Federation and the Klingons, this makes Worf uneasy about him.
Before him, there was no word for
Oh, peacemaker.
peacemaker in
In
Klingon.
Klingon. But okay, like we've already established that Worf grew up in the Federation and with humans, and so I feel like
And
this
he's
is
also serving in the Federation.
true.
Mhm.
So I feel like this is more Worf trying to live up to this idea of what it is to be Klingon than is this actually being like his belief or his
Yeah.
or his own emotion.
Mhm.
Anyway, so
I also think it was not cool of Troy to call Worf's emotions out in front of everybody like that. She could have privately said it to him or to the captain or something, but like right in front of O'Brien, come on.
right,
She does that a lot.
Professional etiquette. Yeah, she does. You're right.
yeah,
I am not expecting battle.
no. Yeah, interesting you bring up O'Brien. He's back again with maybe one line. Although he might get called by O'Brien the first time in this episode by name. So
He's not even in his favorite transporter room in this one either.
not number 3.
No. They're in number 5.
The worst.
It's because the walls are
Yeah.
green.
So they beam down, and at the end of the teaser, it's just an empty room.
Yeah. That was a
Uh,
terrible, like, cold open.
You feel like you would open with the chorus, right? Like that would be like your teaser, you know?
Yeah.
But
Like you would at
Nope.
least see them. Nope. Credits.
credits, like, look, Picard's in an empty room waiting for a guy to come out. You know, so that's your start.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
Well,
Riva is the chair, and the chair is a symbolism of peace.
there was a big chair here, or whatever, or statue, or whatever this was.
Whatever it is, it's ugly.
Yeah. Loud as a Whisper, of course, is our title of the episode. And Riker, back up on the Enterprise, says to Picard, "How's it going?" Picard's like, "There's nobody here." "Okay, let me know what's happening. See you later."
I would appreciate that. He's he's so snarky.
"I'd appreciate you telling me what's happening. That's nice." So finally, the man will come to know as Riva appears. Of course, he doesn't say anything. And he kind of just looks around. 'Cause he's pretty fixated on Troy right from the get.
Giving her the Chuck Norris stare down.
Yeah.
I can't see anything with Dr. Zayas now.
Dr. Zayas.
Sorry.
Dr. Zayas.
You're not kidding. The note I have is I love his Sydney Opera House coat and his Kenny Loggins hair, but now I'm just going to scratch it out and write Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas.
Yes. And then, so there's no real like dialogue here because, of course, Riva doesn't speak out loud. So the chorus is then introduced shortly after here by Riva as these 3 people emerge. The woman in the middle is Marnie Mosselman, who is the wife of John Delancey. And,
Really?
Oh.
and the mother of Keegan Delancey, who played the Q-son. Q2 in Voyager. So
Excellent.
of course, on the left we have Thomas Oglesby, who played Degra in Star Trek Enterprise, and then the guy on the right is Leo Damien. He's not really famous for anything. So
He's hot, though. He's like 80s hot.
yeah, he's meant to
the
be 80s
anarchist
hot.
of lust.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he's-
right.
You know, he's the warrior because he wears that like shoulder pad thing or something. I don't know.
And he has gray boots instead of white.
Yeah. Like
The
as a
shoulder
kid,
pad is for legs. You know, really get a proper leg up there.
yeah, and I guess like the guy on the left is meant to be more intellectual, and the woman is meant to kind of be the bring it all together kind of. You know, what does she represent as well? I'm trying to-
Balance.
Harmony, wisdom, balance.
You've already told me that.
Look, we're identical. Same hair.
Same hair, except for the gingerness, maybe. And Riva. And there's this episode written by Jacqueline Zambrano, not a regular writer on the show. I wonder if this was one of these scripts that got submitted and then made. Like I could see that. Yeah. So 80s hot guy was doing his thing. They're all speaking out loud. There's this one part where they actually start speaking to the chorus, and Riva does not like that. I don't think it's this moment. I think this is the moment where he's first like noticing that Troy's empathic. And
Yeah, he's noticing her empathy.
He quickly gets an empathy boner for Troy.
yeah, quickly, yes. We're told that he's like a royal noble or something on his planet, and therefore, he's genetically. This is a genetica issue that he can't hear. That his family, I guess, is inbred to the point where hearing's been lost.
I thought it was just their species was unable to listen, and the chorus species was like, it's like a symbiote sort of thing, and their ancestors are working for them. I thought that was the case.
Not
Was
quite.
it
No, they're all the same species, but he's basically from the nobility, and they're not. They're from like a different caste, and so their ancestors have always served his ancestors in this role, right?
And at the end of the episode, Pulaski, I remember, does say that it's genetic and hereditary, and there's no surgery or any sort of corrective medical intervention that they can do to give him hearing.
Exactly. And they even they even reference the House of Habsburg as being an example, who were so inbred that they have that weird like looking jaw. I don't know if you've ever seen old pictures of like, the royal family of the Holy Roman Empire and other royal families, but not.
And they were all hemophiliacs.
Yeah, and they were also not liked, kind of like Riva. So it's, you could take it all there. I think this is where Picard speaks to the chorus, and then he gets right in their business. Man, I took less shots. Yeah, this is it here, where he's like, "No, speak to me. Don't talk to them. I'm the guy." He's like, "Sorry, I thought I was supposed to talk to them." So no disrespect, and they're all ready to get going, but Riva is super into Troy throughout all this. Some of these looks, I think, are not the best. But you know, Troy, I don't know. Like, I don't even know. Like, we're told that Troy's into this, but I'm not so sure she is into it. Not as a romance, is she? Like, you know.
I think I believe there was inflections of moments, because she's like, "So is he gonna be around the whole time?" And he's like, "Until we learn to communicate with each other."
Yeah.
Yes. One of the nobles but flawed attempts of the themes of disabilities. Oh, so Norman not necessarily a fan of this episode either. So she is married to Q and a mother of a Q. Yes. And don't lie. It would be cool. It would be so cool to be connected. What you could do. Okay. Okay. No script submissions until season 3. Thank you, Sam. Anyway, they beam up to the Enterprise, and they're getting ready to go to. They get orders to head to the planet that they're going to do the peace negotiations on. And then they come to the bridge, and Riker gives the ultimate stink eye to them coming up into the bridge. Like,
Yeah, Riker is not into this delegation. He seems annoyed, like, this whole episode.
It's like he already knows. It's like he already knows that Riva was flirting with Troy on the planet. How could he know this? But somehow he seems to know.
Because he can smell it.
He can smell
That's the Riker power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Imzadi connection.
Might be. Maybe there's that psychic connection there. So Picard's like, "Hey, they're interpreters, but talk to Riva and blah blah blah," right? So he kind of gives the whole get, and they're introduced to the different bridge officers, of course, to Riker first, and Riva does this thing of not shaking hands, but he like touches you on the chest.
Yeah, but also, like, he interrupts Picard here, which is the first sign. Like, how would he be a good peacemaker if he interrupts the people who are speaking? Picard was literally like, "I'd like to introduce you to Riker," and he interrupts him right in the middle to be like, "Thanks for inviting us aboard." You could have waited for that.
Maybe there's a little lag between him and the translator, It's got to, like, go to their ears through their brainwaves into his brainwave.
Yeah, like, I guess it's through empathy, right? But
yeah, but then the chorus needs to learn not to interrupt people when they're speaking.
I mean, I don't know if they really have their own minds. Because there's no moment, per se, where they speak and represent their own personality or thought. Anytime they're speaking, it's technically him speaking.
There's a couple exceptions, like when we'll get to it in a moment here, but yeah. So Riva talks to Geordi after he's kind of fascinated with Data a little bit, but then he's like, "What's with this? What's with the visor?" And Geordi explains the visor, to him here.
A visor. It interprets the electromagnetic spectrum and then carries the readings to my brain. Without it, I'm as blind as a stump.
And he's like, and then one of his interpreters, says, "Do you resent it?" He goes, "No. Why would I resent it? It's part of who I am and what makes me who I am." And so
I love that. I wrote down the quote exactly. He said, "They're a part of me," and I really like who I am, and I really love the way he delivered that. I thought it was really great scene. Well done.
Yeah.
Oh no, we've lost the anarchist of lust.
Yeah, he's gone. And I like how Geordi gives him the touch on the chest in return as sort of a gesture back, right? So that was nice. And then I guess Riva's ready to go off for his date now with Troy. He's like, "How about we have some dinner, Troy?" And she looks at Picard, but he seems to be fine with it. If that's what she wants to do.
I'm not your pimp. Do what you want.
Yeah. Whatevs, I like that Riker's not so stink eye like he was when she was going to get married to that Wyatt guy. But he's only going to take one of his interpreters, the passion warrior guy.
He's only going to take his lust to dinner.
Yeah, he's not going to take his reason. Or his
thick eyebrows and thicker hair. I know what it's like.
Or his wisdom. Or anything like that. He's just coming with his power. So this is the one moment I think where they actually this woman speaks her own voice. They're like, Picard's like, "What do you do when this happens?" And she's like, "In moments like this, we just piss off and we take the night off and we let Buddy do all the work because he doesn't talk as much normally because he's like lust is not necessary in peace negotiations too often." So
yeah, they only have one chair in the room.
Yeah.
The cuck chair.
The cuck chair. Well, Worf takes care of them while they take off here. I think Orion starts saying the actress that's part of the course is supposed to be the mother of Q. Yes, that's right. I like to think of now that she's a Q in disguise and she's basically doing charity work for kicks. Well,
that's a fun headcanon.
Yeah.
She's just slumming it in the chorus.
Yeah. She's just hanging out here. So then we go down to, I guess this is Troy's quarters that they're having this discussion in.
So we just met, but come on, boys, let's go to my quarters.
Yeah, see, Riker's jealous he wasn't invited to this little shindig.
That's correct. He would have a nice time.
Absolutely. And there's this, so Riva's doing his flirty thing with, Troy, and I think there is this moment where, maybe it comes up in the dinner next here, but she's kind of like, "I don't like this guy being here."
Yeah, when she's like, "Is he staying?" Or
yeah, well, he's like, "I don't know, how else we could talk." So then there's this meeting up in the boardroom with Riva and his team, where they're supposed to give him all the background, but he doesn't care. He's like, I think to Ashley's point, he's very arrogant. He doesn't want the details. He thinks he knows it all, which I guess is part of the story that, he gets humbled, here because he thinks he has all the answers. He negotiated the peace treaties between the Klingons and the Federation. That seemed pretty hard to do.
Yeah, because he doesn't use detailed information and breakdowns to barter peace between civilizations. He does it on the vibes, man.
It's
all
a
vibe scenario with this guy.
Right.
Starfleet was founded on vibes. We believe this.
Well, Dager would agree. He was around for that. So, so basically, yeah, that's kind of the end of the conversation where Riva's like, "Don't need to know too much information. Don't bother. We're taking
and
off."
To be like, I agreed to this meeting for you. Are you done? Okay.
Yeah. They're like, "Well, this is really for your benefit. So if you don't care, then bye."
And he's like, I don't care about this. I just want to go get my dick wet."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah, he might say it that way. So, Yeah. There's this one part where like the interpreter walks off or is walking off, and Picard tries to talk to her, but she doesn't care, and like she just kind of walks off here. So Picard goes, "Well, I guess that's that." And there's a bit of an uneasiness here from Riker. We get a little bit of a time jump as they're continuing their travel towards the planet. They come out of warp, but meanwhile, Riva and Troy are having their dinner. I think this is what I was alluding to.
These candles and goblets are cool.
Yeah,
I
like,
love these goblets. Every time these show up in Star Trek, I love them.
It's like grapefruit juice or something in there. But it's
Grapefruit juice, I think, is a good guess. I love it when they have like regular things masquerading as alien food on Star Trek.
Yeah, it's quite
like a bell pepper with guacamole in it. What is this strange fruit?
Like a dog with a foam rubber horn taped to his head.
My favorite dog in a wig.
Alien.
Yeah, me too. Amazing.
Never forget.
I love showing that to non-Star Trek people and being like, no, they were serious. They put this on television. They put this dog in a wig and put a horn on him, and they were like, it's an alien. The best.
Yeah, it was the 60s. We didn't know yet.
We didn't know.
Yeah. So I think this is the moment with like the interpreter where she's like, this is getting weird that he's like almost like a chaperone here. But so Riva sends him away, and she, and they're going to try to communicate otherwise. And we see that Riva knows sign language, but of course Troy does not.
Sign language.
Yeah,
or some version of it, or gestures with the hands.
This is wild to me, and I know it's obviously for story reasons, but especially with the Universal Translator, how do they not have an agreed upon standardized sign language in the future? We have that now.
Yeah.
Right.
There's the thing. There's like multiple.
We don't.
No,
There's
you're right.
multiple
We don't.
There's multiple
Yeah.
sign languages. Like
You're
American
right.
Sign Language is very different from British Sign Language. And
You're
it's
right,
very
I
different
misspoke.
from
And technically,
Yeah.
this isn't sign language. This is speaking with some form of hand gestures.
Yeah.
So then is he only because he could tell that she is empathic, and he obviously speaks telepathically to his chorus. She can read people's minds who are telepathic. Why can they not speak telepathically?
Because then he wouldn't be able to do this for
But it's
a
just like every
solid
other time-
minute.
Every other time there's someone on the show that's telepathic, they are able to read each other's minds.
Usually, yeah. It's weird here. Like I find it strange that they didn't make him like more alien in his appearance. Like the him and his chorus appear pretty much human. But I imagine that they're meant to be another species of some kind. But like I think you could go, well, like Betazoids in this species aren't compatible, and I guess that explanation could still work here. But I don't know. It's kind of weird. And the other thing, Riva knows how to read lips, right? But I don't really know how universal translators work. I guess they change the shape of your lips to suit what
Maybe he
language
speaks
you're
English.
speaking. Yeah.
Well, why would he have a universal translator though if he can't hear?
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's just like a lot of plot holes here. There's a lot of problems with this.
If you really think about it, yeah, which we are, so here we are.
But the main
This
reason
is when the
for
wheels
this
start to
scene
fall off.
is so him and Troy can get it on with
Yeah,
or
he's trying to
without
arch-
the help of the Anarchist of Lust.
Yeah, he wants to showcase his hand articulations.
He's gonna make shadow puppets, okay? And do it like the Discovery Channel. So they arrive at the planet and they get on the communications with the first of the two warring factions on this planet. They're like, we don't like you, Starfleet. We're here for Riva. And he's like, I called Riva. Hold on. And then the second faction shows up, and they're kind of similarly not too impressed with Picard, and they don't like Starfleet or the Federation.
Can I just say that these aliens look terrible? They are not good. That's ooh.
Yeah, I think they're meant to look like they're scarred and war torn, I guess. But
They look
they're
like
melting.
illustrations of Neanderthal man or something. Like it's not
It
good.
looks like a cross between Planet of the Apes and Mad Max.
yeah,
Well, Planet of the Apes would go with Dr. Zaius, so
Well, if you go back to that other screen of the other two, it
Yeah.
looks like the doctor's Zaius' assistants.
Yeah,
they
very
do.
similar outfits. Yes.
now I cannot see this.
and
Okay.
their outfits look like they took some like Klingon rejects and spray painted them a little bit.
And that is clearly Mel Gibson.
They're like
That's what Mel Gibson looks like, full tilt.
Yeah.
almost like
that's
Kazon
not makeup,
to
that's
me,
just Mel
or
Gibson.
something like that. But yeah, like not the best. Anyway,
Yeah.
while Reva and Troy are finishing up their dinner, Troy gets the call that he's being called to the bridge, and Reva's got to throw away his mint sprig or whatever it is here. He's not. He's like, well, shucks. I guess that's that. So up on the bridge, Reva and his team show up, and they're here to talk with the guys. So he's doing his thing, talking to them. Split screen again, conference calls like in the last episode.
Zoom call.
He's like, you guys are so brave. You're doing such a good job with the peace. He's kind of blowing smoke up their ass to a certain degree. Trying to get them to like him, and then they're gonna go down and have a meeting in person. Is the plan?
You
here,
wise,
so-
brave individuals shall gain peace on an even playing field.
Right, but Picard and the team they're also kind of concerned here because they're like, well, it could be dangerous. Worf, you should go with him. He's like, no, not some big security team. We got to keep this minimal and small. So there's a scene here where they have to pick like the spot that they're going to do it in. It's the site of the historic Battle of Zambrano.
Yeah, I just noticed that, which is the writer's last name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they pick a specific spot that they want to do this on, and
This is where his heart was sacrificed to the gods. We will we'll conduct our meeting here.
So they beam down. Now only Riker and Worf are armed both times they go down. Actually, and they're setting their phasers as done. Reva's like, we won't need those. This is all gonna go fine. Don't even worry about it. It's gonna be the best. We get one of these matte painting sort of composite shots here. Along with a practical set. They still stand
In a
out.
single tree.
In a single tree, yeah. And this little, I guess, meeting place here. The historic Battle of Zambrano, of course. Everyone knows it. And they're kind of waiting for things to show up. Reva wants a table and some torches to have this meeting. So call up Geordi. He's got just the thing. He'll make it for you. Like, I feel like this is like the only time I ever remember them calling up to engineering for something to be fabricated quite in this way.
Yeah.
A
A lot. We can replicate small meals and stuff, but large scale replication that only happens right here in Prodigy, and maybe in Voyager, but not really.
Not a lot of replication in Voyager because it used too much power. The whole point
Yeah,
of Neelix
so-
was that they couldn't use the replicators much.
Right.
Rations.
They did build the Delta Flyer themselves, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then, the Voyager then. But maybe DS9 might have done some form of large scale replications.
They did. They have industrial replicators. They referenced it in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. It was just kind of an interesting way to call up to Geordi here, I thought. And then Worf notices, hey, the guys are coming. Before they've even had time to get their table and torches and all that. Whatever, right? So the first...
Guys, not yet. We don't have the torches.
No, we were getting torches. It was going to be so perfect.
That's why they're so mad.
Yeah.
But I'm here to do a windmill.
The one guy's like, "There's no table."
Yeah, where's the punch and pie? I thought there was punch and pie at this meeting.
Punch and pass.
Is this not when we sing the chorus, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius?
The second group shows up. They're dressed slightly differently than the first group to differentiate them, I suppose. And I don't. Yeah, they almost feel like primates. Like you're right. Like there's definitely that vibe here.
They look like beige Klingons.
Yeah, mutated Klingons.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not going super great right away. And then there's one of the guys in the second group, one of the emissaries, who seems to not like this peace talk too much, and he kind of has a freak out here.
This very general, smoke blowy peace talk. You're both very brave and wise to come here. We are very grateful for your. Oh God! He just shot my people. Like,
yeah, that's pretty much how it went. You think like one of the conditions of the meeting would be like no guns. How about everyone not bring their guns?
yeah, nobody brings weapons to peace talks generally.
Yeah.
That wasn't. This guy was like, no, they can.
Don't
bring
worry
their
about it. They'll
weapons."
give up their own guns eventually when I work my Reva magic.
This is the moment the episode falls apart and goes downhill.
This is the greatest moment of the episode. This is the most
It's just it's very unexpected and a wild twist. But like his character and everything that follows after this it's so much boring and so much more worse. And that's probably because Data is delivering it with the most pale delivery you can, and it's intentional for all the right reasons. But like.
You miss the chorus when they're gone?
Yeah, I like the concept of the chorus, and I wanted to see it expanded upon more. But they're just like, we don't know what to do with any of this, so left turn, wrap up the show. Okay, move on to next episode.
So Riker, like Secret Service style, tackles Reva. He's like, Reva, look out! But the other three, they get no look.
The chief of security just stands there and watches it all.
Yeah. So then they get hit.
He's like, Odo.
No.
I love. Okay, you gotta watch this. I got the screenshots all like in slow motion here. So they get hit, and then they. My favorite guy is the middle. Just his look. He's like, "This is what being disintegrated feels like." Oh
Middle
no!
Guy.
You know.
This is one of my favorite special effects in Star Trek.
Yeah, like where they started. This is happening a lot slower here.
3 bodies.
You know, the guy's like, I mostly have no face left.
Oh no!
Fatality.
My favorite part,
You got some hands.
in this moment, she's just some hands and one eyeball.
The one guy, the one guy has a full hand, but no pelvis.
He
Right.
didn't have a pelvis when he started disintegrating, and that's the anarchist of lust. So I don't know what he was getting up
I
to.
call foul, quite frankly. And then they turn it into some skeletons and whatever. Yeah, this is a very slow disintegration. Riker calls for
No. It was so fast that time slowed down for the viewers to witness. Because if it was anything slower than the speed of light, the bones should have properly fallen to gravity, but they did not, as they held in place as they slowly were vaporized.
Yeah,
to
you're
our
right. Like,
eyes.
the physics of this are weird, especially because there is no gravity, and even if you were being disintegrated slower, gravity still applies.
See, this
Gravity
this
doesn't
leads,
apply to Reva. Gravity?
Gravity. It's like Mavity. No, but this is like this feeds into my theory that Star Trek is actually like an anime, because moments like these, like I was just watching Ippo, and Ippo would throw a punch in a boxing match, and like it's a boxing match, you know how fast a punch is thrown, but it would take like 15 minutes for the punch to land because every person in the audience has to bear witness to it and have a 5 to 10 second thought. Oh God, you know, that's what Star Trek likes to do with moments like these.
True.
Yeah.
Does Reva try to grab the phaser and then shoot them, or like it's
Yeah.
yeah? So then the one guy kills the buddy who killed the chorus because I guess that was not part of the plan, and then he disintegrates kind of slowly. He's just got the top of his hair at this point.
We're all red skeletons on the inside.
Yeah, it turns out that we all have the same skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. These guys, the other faction, is relatively calm throughout all of this. I must say.
They seem very surprised.
To be fair, they did just witness him kill the man that killed the Peacemaker's chorus, so I'm sure they're a little confused on where the loyalties lie at the moment, and they don't know quite what to do.
Yeah, so this guy says, no, that wasn't part of the plan. He was doing that. He did that on his own, but Riker calls for the immediate beam out here. And they get him.
Oh, wait, no, go back. Go back. I think it's Worf that's holding the phaser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah, you're right. So they beam out, and then this guy's like, no, come back, Reva. We need you. We need you. But up on the ship, obviously Reva very upset after the death of the chorus. No one now can communicate with him.
Flailing up a storm.
He's flailing. He's pissed off. He's angry. He's in despair. And there's nothing they can do. And like even Troy, who has got a bit of a connection with him, but can't communicate with him directly. Reva just keeps signing at them. And I think there's this one part where Picard like grabs him by the head. He goes, Reva, it's okay. We're going to figure this out, man. You know?
This was wild to me. Picard grabbed him on both sides of his face and yelled in his face. I thought
It's okay. He
can't hear.
He can't hear him. It's okay.
But still, it's no matter if I can hear you or not. If you grab me by the sides of my head, it's not going to be like a chill conversation that continues afterwards.
Right, but then he grabs him. He's like, "We're with you. We're with you." And you're like,
we're in this together.
He did grab him and shake his head for good, though, for greater good.
For a good cause, a good
Yes.
cause. You know. So then Troy takes Reva away to sickbay to see if Pulaski can do anything. You know, there's kind of this look here with Riker.
Riker's like, Pulaski can't do shit.
There's nothing she can do.
I would like to point out, however, that Pulaski and Reva have the same hairdo.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Use the same hairspray.
I think he was just thinking about the missed opportunity of a 6-person orgy.
Yeah.
So Data's ordered to learn sign language, or what? Like he clearly. I know there's more than one, and there's clearly even more than one from his planet. So Data's like, there are 5 on his planet. I'm gonna learn them all, and then we'll go from there. You know?
Okay, like maybe I'm a pervert, but I thought that all the hand gestures were very suggestive.
I have way too dirty of a mind for this screenshot.
2 in the pink, 2 in the stink.
Yeah.
1 in the stink.
What is that a symbol for exactly?
Well,
know.
I know this one's bullshit. So maybe this one's like rimming.
Data's just looking up swear words.
Yeah, there was
Like a 7-year-old. He's just like, shit.
It's the
That one is got your nose.
cut your nose. Yeah, so there's all kinds of things. Picard being very pensive here, just looking at the ground in his quarters when Troy and Pulaski show up to update them on Reva. Pulaski's like, I can't do anything. His condition's hereditary. I couldn't make him not deaf anymore. But even if you could, it's not like he would suddenly know how to talk or know how to even listen to the language, right?
Yeah.
And so Picard is not feeling great here. But then Data shows up. He's like, I learned sign language, Picard. Look, this is the blue. This is the blue ocean. This is the boat on the blue ocean, etc.
These are 2 people walking along the blue ocean next to the blue.
And Picard is just, and even Pulaski is like a little bit proud of Data in this moment. He's like, cool, you know. And Picard's like, this is the best. This is the best day to have an android right now. You know, can learn how to do something.
How did Data not already know sign language?
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly
0% chance he didn't already know sign language.
Yeah.
And how does Picard not know sign language? He's a big anthropologist basically. You'd think he would study that language. He's studied languages of alien cultures. He learned
dead for many, many years.
Yeah, he learned, Darmok and Tanagra, he never took time to learn basic sign language that probably would have been available during his Starfleet career and his
Especially
education.
since he's the person that Starfleet sends when the Federation is the one doing peace talks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rock on the ocean. That's right.
Darmok on the blue ocean. Darmok walking next to the blue ocean.
Well, yeah, I also get this feeling from this episode that like conditions like blindness and deafness they happen still, but they're more rare than even now, because they probably correct some of it with surgeries and different medical techniques that don't exist in our world. But, obviously Geordi's an exception, and there are exceptions that they can't help. But even that's kind of thrown out here. So I wonder, maybe it's just sign language is just less common.
Well, like Worf was almost paralyzed because of the blue barrel that fell on him, and then they're like, well, you're probably paralyzed for life. However, there's a super secret surgery now. Spoiler alert. I'm sure we'll get to it eventually. But there's a super secret surgery. It might work. It might not work. And it's top of the line, but we don't know. It's risky. Like, this is super far in the future.
And there's no going back.
Yeah, and they can't, like, only not, like, they're at that point in time that, paralysis is still a mystery to them. So,
100 years ago, they could give someone a pill to regrow a kidney, but they struggle to fix a spine.
Or a blindness or deafness.
I mean, Picard has a literal artificial heart.
Mm-hmm. He had super sensitive hearing when he was a kid, right? And he had that corrected with the Bendai syndrome. Anyway, but Data points out that almost all cultures develop sign language before they develop spoken language, except for this other species that he references that developed a written language first. And then Worf says, wow, sign language so good it could be used in battle, silent but deadly.
Come on! Are you trying to tell me that Starfleet in the future doesn't have like hand signals for silent combat? And
what about the Klingons? The Klingons alone, wouldn't they have it?
No, they just yell at people while they run into battle, swinging bathlets and shooting disruptor rays and stuff like that. They have no need for like secret sneaky warfare. That's dishonorable. But he is a Klingon expat that went through Starfleet Academy, and you're telling me that the human society of Starfleet Academy isn't like, okay, here's like 6 weeks of mandatory Black Ops training where you go.
Yeah, you think a tactical officer would know it. So, anyway, but
were those the same hand gestures that Data was learning?
Yes. I know all these gestures. We went through my rite of ascension. Anyway, so
now he
so
really
Picard's
is fully functional.
Mm-hmm.
Picard and Data and Troy, they go to see Riva, and they're like, Riva, talk. Like, Data knows your stuff, so that now they're able to talk. And Riva's very upset about the chorus that he was stupid, he got them killed, he was arrogant, he realizes some of his errors, and that he doesn't want to help these aliens, anymore. He can't help them anymore. But they really want him to. They came all this way, and now people have died. It would be a real shame for there not to be some kind of resolution here. But Riva doesn't care. He's just.
I lost my save file. I don't want to play this game anymore.
No, he's not.
He's rage quitting.
He's rage quitting. Yeah. That's when the fingers go in the holes. That's really what he came for. So anyway, he storms off. Then there's this next scene here in sickbay with Pulaski and LaForge, Geordi, about his blindness and that he could get the ocular implants, which he later does get, of course, in the movies, that he would lose 20% of that visor power or vision spectrum. But she's like, there's another option. We could just, give you real eyes and repair your ocular nerve. And he's like, I didn't think that was possible. She's like, I've done it before. I'm a pretty good doctor, if you didn't know. And, but there's no going back. I'm like, why not? You could always blind him again, couldn't you? Like, if you had to, like, isn't it easier to take sight away than to give it?
I
Again.
feel like maybe there was another scene of this plot that got cut out because this feels very
2 parts of a
tacked
3-part
on.
act.
Yeah.
I feels like they needed something to fill time in the episode, and they threw this in. But
Something less boring.
yeah,
Marginally
Yeah.
less boring.
If we're gonna talk about disabilities, we should talk about another disability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get this disability ham sandwich into our script writing so we can focus on other stories and we won't have to come back to this ever again.
yeah. But the fact that like he doesn't make up his mind in this episode, and I don't really remember if this conversation's ever picked up again between these two. But
It's
yeah,
not.
no, like not in the episode, but like in the season.
That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
think
It's
so.
not.
It's
No,
not.
that's
Okay, so even weirder. And then Jordy goes, "Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't like that, you know." And then what is Pulaski's smirk here when he leaves? Like, what is she happy about?
It's because she's a mad scientist. She's Dr. Monroe on Enterprise. Or Dr. Moreau. Yeah. Because they can have a pill that'll regrow a kidney, but they don't got a pill for eyeballs. But she's got the secret sauce. She just steals some alien eyeballs and then sticks it in Geordie's head.
Yeah.
I think she's smirking because she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad he didn't buy it, and I don't have to fake that surgery now."
It's like, I don't want to do that work anyway.
Yeah, I have no idea what I was
want to put
selling
on
this
that
guy.
stupid red outfit.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Now where's that android? I need to go make fun of it.
So Troy and Data go to see Riva, who's still mad and upset, and apparently Troy's been ordered to now take over the negotiations, which she points out she has no experience in doing, and is not. I'm like, why wouldn't Picard be the obvious choice to try to take this on?
Yeah.
Not
But
Troy.
she's a counselor. She's got to counsel the peace out of them.
Yeah, like, but she's like, tell me what your secrets, tell me your ways, Riva. And he's like, I don't have any magic. You just gotta find some common ground.
Make your disadvantages your advantages. Wait a minute.
just-
Eureka!
Make the
What
tips kiss.
Make the tips the doc.
Yeah,
She's telling me, he's like, well, normally they gotta find a way, to communicate.
Wait, go back one. You can tell he's having a thought here, an idea.
that's the disadvantages to their advantages.
That's acting.
Mm-hmm,
My favorite part about his the actor's Wikipedia here is that it says Sago's wife is a fan of Star Trek, and that's it.
That's the whole fact.
Was this guy just like some Italian actor superstar that had connections and got into the Star Trek episode, but they gave him no lines just to make faces? Is that what happened?
He can't be Italian. He's ginger.
Yeah, he's American. He's not been in a lot, and he has not been in a lot since the 80s. So I don't think his career really went big after this. I don't know. This was supposed to be his breakout role, guys. I don't know what happened. So
his breakout was about as loud as a whisper.
Oh,
that was a good one. Anyway, so Troy gets Riva to sort of have this epiphany moment where he's like, "Oh no, that's it. I'll force them to have to communicate with each other, like I always do." He gives her a kiss on the cheek here or whatever.
I'll show that their disadvantages are advantages.
Yeah, yeah. Their disadvantages. Turn your disadvantage into an advantage, and then he thanks
Thank you.
Data.
Thank me.
Oh, thank me. Oh, yeah. Well, you're welcome, Riva. So they beam down again. This time they're taking Troy with them and Data. But like I said, Data and Troy are not armed. Only Riker and Worf again as they head on down.
Because they're both 6 feet. You can only give the guns to the guys that are above 6 feet.
It's for tall men.
Yeah.
Does O'Brien have this thing where he just loves to beam people onto the edge of a cliff? Because every time they beam into the edge of this cliff, and then they walk over to the room.
Right.
And I thought, oh, maybe it's in a spot where they can't beam them down or whatever. But then the table gets beamed down into that spot. So why on the edge of the cliff?
It is
Because he
odd.
thinks it's
It
like, I
just
wonder
feels
how
like
close
this
I
is
can get them
O'Brien's
to the
kink.
edge.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna put them right on the edge.
Enjoy. He does the same thing in Encounter at Farpoint. He beams them down right to the edge of like the crater.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's because he's the transporter chief. He doesn't have to answer to anybody. He could put people down precariously if he wants.
It's like, I'm gonna play around with how close I can get them to the edge of this cliff.
One day he tried to do that with an away team, but he was a digit off, and he put him into space.
Yeah.
Jordy finally gets his to put his table down and his torches. Worf gets to actually do something by turning on the torches. And now they wait. He's like, here's my plan. I'm going to teach them sign language. That's going to take months. Exactly. How do you know they're not just going to vaporize you again? You know, like in the first 5 minutes of this discussion.
My God, he just did the most insulting hand gesture in all of our languages. He did this. He told me to go sleep with my uncles. What is wrong with this man? Let's kill him now.
It could be conceivable, right? Like you could do like their equivalent of the finger or something, and then but they're like, no, we're gonna leave you here, Reva, with no shuttle, no way to get home, no way to contact us.
But the table and the torches, though, so he'll be fine.
No food, no bed.
There's that one tree. Surely it grows some type of fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, he's just gonna hang out here in this dirty pit thing and indefinitely. So maybe he's still
there. To this
there.
day, he's still sign languaging.
Yeah, we're still working on the basic syntax. Then there's kind of this moment here with Troy and Picard. This is what I was referencing, Picard looking back at his little orbit graphic again. Mm-hmm. And this is, when Picard stands up and has this conversation with Troy, this is where I feel like the original episode, I don't think that would have kept going probably while they were having that conversation. But maybe I'm wrong. I would love to see the original version. But anyway, Picard's like, good job, Troy. You did good. Just like how he was happy with Data for learning sign language. Picard's like, proud papa here. He's like, good.
I love that scene, and I loved her like trying not to smile, but she's very pleased at the praise from the captain. And I just think it's important to say out loud when people are doing a good job. So I thought that was a nice little ending to it.
Yeah, he even says, I know you already know how I feel about you, but I want to say the words anyway. So,
And then she's like, oh, Daddy Captain, thank you.
Yeah. Exactly. And that is the end of this episode. Geez, not a lot happened, eh?
No.
But maybe
we sure did have fun talking about it, though.
We did. I'm just gonna see if I can. I'm gonna give you some facts, unless anyone else has that on cue. But okay. So Howie Sago, who played Reva, is in fact deaf in real life and uses American Sign Language. He petitioned the producers to create this show about deaf people, in part to dispel untrue and prejudiced myths about them. In the first draft, Reva learned to speak overnight after a mechanical translator he used to communicate with his chorus failed. Segal suggested the ending that they ended up shooting instead, where they all died. Or he's like, I'm going to sit here and teach them sign language. And that
Can I interject for a second? I remember reading years ago that the actor who played Reva was deaf and did sign language. And I was wondering, as on this rewatch, after the chorus is gone, when they're in the ready room, him and Troy Picard, and he's frustrated and he's signing, I wonder if he was actually signing American Sign Language, like if those were actual words that he was saying, scripted speech.
Perhaps. But we'll stay tuned for more. We'll find out. The script of this episode stated that Reva was forced to learn sign language while mediating a conflict in the Pleiades system. The beings involved in the conflict were extremely paranoid and did not allow Reva's chorus to accompany him. So in order to communicate on his own behalf, the deaf mediator had to learn sign language. However, this information did not make it into the final cut of the episode, nor did the fact that the members of the family to which Reva belongs do not read or write. Because there is that one part where Picard's like, can you write it down?
Mm-hmm. And he just shakes his head.
Yeah. The moment featuring Riva and his entourage selecting a beam down site from the bridge features one of the only several instances during the series run when the live video monitors were used on the bridge of the Enterprise, as opposed to backlit graphics or post-production burn-ins. In this instance, only one such monitor was used in the Science One console. This technique was used again in A Matter of Honor, in the same location after that, and it wasn't used again until All Good Things, which is, of course, the finale of the series. So that's an unusual. We got a rare treat here, everybody.
This episode was a rare treat.
It was. Will Wheaton and William Shatner met for the first time while this episode was being filmed. Shatner was not kind to Wheaton, and Wheaton now tells the story of the encounter for comedy. Yeah, that was when they were making Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, and it was like next door to where they were shot Next Gen, and yeah, apparently Shatner was not too thrilled with the idea of the Next Generation at that time, especially, and kind of was.
I read Will Wheaton's book Dancing Barefoot, where he tells the story about that, and it's called The Saga of SpongeBob Vegas Pants, I think, and he talks about it. He was a teenager, he was young, and he was such a big Star Trek fan, and he finally had gotten up the nerve to go over and talk to Shatner, and he put up bored as the whisper. Yeah. He put on his muscle suit that he made him wear. And you know how self-conscious you are when you're a teenager anyway. And he went over to speak to Shatner, and Shatner looked him up and down and said, well, I wouldn't have a kid on my bridge. And just went off, and it was just really rude and dismissive, and he was crushed. Never meet your heroes, but Shatner is widely regarded as a dick, and I guess Roddenberry, word got around how mean he had been to Will Wheaton, and Roddenberry made him apologize.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah, a lot of the cast at the time found out, but I remember Brent Spiner in particular went to Wheaton and said, Shatner, he wears a toupee. Screw him, he's. But now Brent Spiner and Shatner are friends, so maybe Shatner got over his issues,
Loosened his girdle a little.
perhaps. Okay, just for continuity facts, 2 scenes in the Picard's ready room which depict a hologram of the Lima Sierra system during both the teaser and the episode's final scene are one of the only 2 instances during the entire run of the series that a holographic interface on the desk is seen in operation. It was also used in the second season opener, The Child. I remember I think we were all, or Ashley and Heather were here for that review, so we were thinking about them. Pulaski raises the possibility of treating LaForge's blindness via corrective surgery. LeVar Burton had at one time campaigned for his character's sight to be restored so he could use his expressive eyes. The Next Generation Companion, 2nd edition, page 73, suggests that this scene was added to prepare for this possibility. Following this episode, the idea was dropped, and it is never mentioned again during the course of the series.
Right.
Later, LaForge grew new eyes as a result of the effects of the anti-time distortion in the series finale, All Good Things, and eventually had his eyes replaced with ocular implants sometimes prior to the events of Star Trek First Contact. His eyes indeed regenerated temporarily in Star Trek Insurrection because of the Baku planet's effects, and they manifested the same effect as Dr. Pulaski described. The mention of Riva negotiating peace treaties between the Klingon and the Federation was an early attempt to explain how those former enemies became allies. It was later superseded in yesterday's Enterprise, which established that the peace was achieved through the sacrifice of the Enterprise C, and of course the undiscovered country finally showed that peace was achieved even earlier. But, okay, but not quite, because the events of Undiscovered Country and the events of yesterday's Enterprise, where the Enterprise C came from, there's 40 years in between those events, right? So, it feels like they started the path to peace with the Klingons.
Yeah, it's not going to be one thing with after a war. It's going to be multiple things. And I mean, Enterprise C did its thing, and that probably led to the talks that Riva would have helped with.
But if it never got to the talks in the first place, then Riva couldn't do anything, right? So
So how old is Riva? Because the Khitomer Accords and then the Khitomer Massacre happened when Worf was very young. Riva, he must be old. But
so at the time, Howie Seago was about 37.
Yeah, so like old.
But maybe the species is longer lived. I don't know. So
Yeah, they could be like Vulcans.
it could be like Vulcans. They could age slower too.
Yeah.
After this episode aired, the producers received supportive mail from both deaf and hearing people.
That's nice.
Melinda Snodgrass was pleased how this episode used Troy. She commented, "Troy got to show her claws, and she gives this guy a boost." Morris Hurley opined. Horace Purley opined, "An okay episode. I had higher expectations than the way it turned out. It should have been more effective." I think we could all agree with
Thanks for that input, Maurice. Didn't you get fired after this season?
He did. Yeah, he wasn't the best boss apparently, and
No.
that's all. That's about it for my fun facts, everybody. Unless
Those were very fun.
yeah, well, I'm glad to. Please. All right, let's. Sorry, guys, I need to do one quick thing here.
So, how does everybody feel about this representation of disability in Star Trek?
I think it's good that they did it.
I think
I really liked the idea of the chorus, and I just thought that the writing could have been better. I like that they discussed disability and disabled folks in the future, but they just didn't really do a whole lot with it.
They didn't entertain us enough, I think, is ultimately what I think is the result here. So let that inform your opinion. Of course, as I mentioned, Davin's already given this a 1 because, and he's proactively already given Measure of a Man, which recovered in about a month, an 11. So, Heather, do you want to go first?
I said this episode was better than I remember. 6.5 out of 10.
6.5. Okay. Worldmind.
I'll give it a 3 because of the chorus.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly. Everything else is presents a lot of interesting concepts. It tries to shed light on what disabilities are like and go through in the future. It just executes it all kind of poorly and blandly, and not the best episode, but definitely not the worst episode. Just a meh episode, so it gets a 3 for me.
3. Ashley?
I mean, I agree with basically everything Murphy said. I'm not a big fan of the episode. I don't think it's the worst thing ever made. Or at least the worst thing in Star Trek even. But I'll give it a 4, and it gets that because I love the disintegration scene.
Yeah. And I'm going. My gut is 5. Is what I want to give it. So that's what I'm going to give it. It's very mid, like right. I like it, but just and so we're averaging 3.9. Davin, of course, bringing that down, but Heather's bringing it a little bit up.
I think I might have been generous, but I'll stand by it.
It's nothing wrong with it. This has a 6.5 on IMDb, so it's not that low rated compared to The Child, for instance.
It's higher rated than the Outrageous Okana. That's wild.
Wow, really? That one's way more fun, and I like The Child better than this one too.
Yeah.
You gotta think about the time period this show came out into. Like, I know it's just the 90s and it feels like yesterday to us, but it's not.
It was the 80s. We didn't know yet.
Oh yeah, even better. But like, all the same, like, I think Star Trek needs to be more willing to introduce characters of disability and show that the representation within the future does significant warrant significant viewing and presence, because it's a reality of the human condition, and the reality of probably the living conditions of any alien species out there. So, see more of that in future iterations of Star Trek. Paramount or Skydance or whatever entity owns our precious franchise in the near future. It needs to happen.
Yeah, well said. And with that, I think we'll wrap up this discussion tonight for the Loud as a Whisper. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm going to be out next week. We're hoping to call in, but this podcast will be run by Davin next week. He'll be in the captain's chair, and we will be covering the Schizoid Man, season 2, episode 6.
So our own Schizoid Man is going to be running the ship.
I don't know what a schizoid is, but
He's the middle guy.
yeah, he's
Isn't
the middle
it
guy.
schizoid? Or is that not how
I
you
would
spell
say schizoid.
Schizoid? Okay.
Yeah.
I always want to say schizoid, but maybe.
Yeah, I think it's schizoid.
Schizoid. The Schizoid Man. This is the one.
Schizoid.
With,
That sounds like something
Schizoid.
Cooper would say.
The mentor,
Schizoid.
Data's father, is like in the. Anyway, it's been a while since I've watched it, but so Adam and I will try to call in from the cruise ship and whatever. But if it doesn't work, Davin will still be running it and talking all about it with a panel next week. So look out for that.
24th century schizoid man.
We're taking next week off from the Orville. We just covered Twice in a Lifetime on Monday, and we'll be back on March 3rd to talk about From Unknown Graves. So look out for that. Stop it. Okay. And what else, guys? We did the Section 31 review some time ago. We did our Lower Decks, series retrospective and finale there, and I think we're on tomorrow doing some Star Trek trivia, Voyager specifically under our science banner, with Ashley, the Quiz Admiral, hosting. So look out for that.
In my final season rewatch of Voyager, so
yeah, I need to brush up a little bit. It's one of Heather's friends, Mike, is coming in to be a contestant.
Yes,
so
a newbie to the game.
Is he also from New Brunswick?
He is. I'm not from New Brunswick.
I know you're not originally.
Yes, he is the New Brunswicker, a Monktonian, and loves Star Trek. But as many of us, his wheelhouse is TNG and Deep Space Nine. So he's braver than me because I didn't want to be on Voyager trivia because I knew I wouldn't do well. But I told him that he said, are the questions going to be really hard? What difficulty level?
Yes.
And I said, well, the first episode I was on, the question I got was, I said, it's the luck of the draw. Quiz Admiral Ashley does a really good mix of hard, medium, and easy questions. But I got one that was like, what did Bones' father say was the secret ingredient in his baked beans? And Mike goes, bourbon? And I was like, you're on the show. He knew, there's no way I would have known that. So I think he's going to do well. And if he doesn't, we'll just make fun of him. So it works out great.
We'll see you on the battlefield, Davin. Yeah, Davin, me, and Mike are all going at it tomorrow. So with Ashley trying to figure it all out, who will be the champion. So look out for that. And it's also, I guess, the Voyager 30th anniversary is right about now, or it was maybe a month ago. So it's good timing for that, and in celebration of that. And most of the cast is going to be on the cruise, except for Robert Beltran and Jennifer Leanne. They're the only two not there. But so it's going to be good times. Anyway,
Trivial Debates, Sunday, February 23rd. It's going to be a Farscape edition.
Oh, you're doing
Davin's
that
gonna
on
be
Sunday.
hosting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
Sunday, February 23rd. Davin's going to be hosting. I'm going to be participating. I'm going to have Jason do the producing on the back end of it, hopefully. And tune in for that. We also got Jennifer Lee Rossman and Trek Trav participating on that episode. Because apparently nobody watches one of the greatest sci-fis on Earth, and it baffles me. I don't get it. I don't get it. Everybody right here in this panel, aside from myself, should have watched Farscape at least once in their existence. And if you don't
we're
watch
busy
it,
watching As Loud as a Whisper.
What about Babylon 5?
I mean, if you want to talk about boring as loud as a whisper, Babylon 5 is up there.
We're moving on. We're moving
Fighting
on.
words.
Okay. And also, if anyone out there happens to be into Survivor, we have a new season of Survivor starting next week. We'll be covering Survivor 48 over on our Super Mater Brothers podcast channel. The first episode, To Get to Know You game. The Get to Know You game. I'm sorry, is the title of that episode. And that will be hosted by Jaemeel. He's got Josh Foster with him. Maybe Jeff, who knows, and others. So,
Are you guys ever gonna review Legends and Future Greats, the WWE like new Tough Enough Survivor-esque show that's like a reality-based show with like new?
We haven't discussed it, but maybe. So,
if you do, I might be interested in watching that with you.
Jaemeel will probably be down for that, and so would Jason. Jason R. Phillips also joining us on that channel now. I was just over there last week talking James Bond for a 4-hour podcast, guys.
So, yeah.
Didn't they have a 4-hour one with Andre last night?
I think it was
Live
4
and Let Die?
But it was Andre and somebody else last night. So
Noel. I'm actually gonna be on next week. And hey, did you see this one? Talking Her Majesty's Secret Service, I think.
Yeah, because we swapped around, so I could. It was conflicting with the cruise week anyway.
It's fine. No worries.
Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
And with all that, guys, we're gonna sign off for the night. If you're still with us here, appreciate you all. And we'll leave you with this quote, and I'll see you all. Well, maybe I'll see you. I'll definitely see you for the trivia tomorrow. So until then, live long and podcast, everybody.
And you don't resent it?
The visor or being blind?
Either.
Well, no, since they're both a part of me and I really like who I am, there's no reason for me to resent either one.
It's a blessing to understand that we are special, each in his own way.
Yes. Yes, that's the way I feel exactly.
See you next time, everyone.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.